Before I begin this story, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. It only takes a second and it helps us bring you more emotional stories just like this one. And trust me, what you're about to hear will make your heart twist, because sometimes life teaches its hardest lessons in the most unexpected moments. Now let's begin. I used to believe that true, committed love got stronger with age. That after surviving 3 decades of raising kids, building a home, and struggling through bills, you earned something solid, something unbreakable. Something that couldn't be shattered by a few wrinkles or gray hairs. After all, hadn't we proven ourselves? 30 years. 30 years of choosing each other again and again. But I learned on the night of our 30th anniversary that you can share a life with someone and still not truly know their heart. The evening started beautifully. I had spent the entire week planning at his favorite restaurant, a quiet rooftop spot lit by fairy lights, a small band playing soft jazz. I wanted the night to feel like the beginning all over again. I wore the same style of navy blue dress I had worn on our very first date, though of course the shape of me had changed. But I felt lovely, confident, proud of the woman I had become. He arrived late. I should have known that was the first sign, but love makes you rationalize, doesn't it? I smiled and excused it when he brushed past me without a kiss, barely looking at me as he muttered something about traffic. I didn't let it bother me, not yet. Dinner was awkward. He kept checking his phone, sighing, shifting in his seat. I tried to bring up memories, our honeymoon. The time he burned the Thanksgiving turkey and we ended up eating cereal on the kitchen floor, laughing like kids. But each story fell flat against his blank expression. It was like talking to a stranger wearing my husband's face. Still, I kept hoping. When the small jazz band began to play our song, the one we danced to at our wedding, I felt my heart swell. Maybe this would be the moment. Instead, he stood up. Not to dance, but to make an announcement. He cleared his throat loudly, tapping his wine glass with a spoon. People turned. "I'd like everyone's attention," he said, his chuckle eager, not nervous. "Tonight is special. It's our 30th anniversary," guests applauded politely. I felt my cheeks flush with pride, until he continued. "And I've decided that tonight is also the night I make another change. A big one." He didn't look at me. "Not once. I'm ending our marriage," he announced, like he was giving a speech at work. "We've had a good run, but, well, she's just too old for me now. 60 is..." 60? A soft, uncomfortable laughter rippled through the crowd. My brain didn't register the words immediately. Too old? Too old for him? After everything? He kept talking. "I want to live the rest of my life feeling young," he went on. "And that means starting fresh. So tonight, I'm freeing both of us, freeing, as if our marriage had been a cage, as if I hadn't spent 30 years giving him every part of me." My husband finally looked at me then, not with sadness, but with relief. Relief. He sat down calm, almost pleased. I didn't cry, not then. Shock held my tears hostage. I stood slowly, my chair scraping loudly, every eye turned to me. And suddenly I realized the room wasn't judging me, they were horrified for me. My voice was barely a whisper. "Is this a joke?" He shrugged. "No, I'm just being honest. You're beautiful. For your age, but I want someone younger. Someone who makes me feel alive. Alive, as if I hadn't breathed life into every dream he ever chased. As if I hadn't stood by him when he battled depression. I refused to let the tears fall. Not there, not for him. Instead, I nodded slowly. "Okay," I said, my voice steady. "Then I guess it's good I brought your gift." For the first time, confusion flickered across his face. "Gift?" he repeated. I reached down and picked up the small black velvet box I had placed beneath the table. The box that held something far more powerful than he could imagine. "Yes, I had brought you a gift. And you have no idea what's coming." I held the box behind my back and forced a soft smile. "You said you want to feel young again," I whispered. "Well, this gift is the best place to start." But I didn't open it. Instead, I turned and walked away, leaving him sitting there as I headed toward the elevator. People stepped aside, some touching my arm in silent support. When the elevator doors closed and I was finally alone, the tears came hard and fast. 30 years discarded in front of strangers. He had humiliated me, broken me. But he had no idea that inside this box was the one thing that would turn everything upside down. And he would soon learn that age wasn't my weakness, it was my power. I didn't go home. I couldn't. Walking into that house, the one I made a home for us, felt like stepping into a graveyard of memories. So I just sat in my car in the dim parking garage, the overhead lights buzzing faintly. I clutched the velvet box in my hands. It's funny how something so small can hold so much weight. I'd imagined giving him this gift over dessert, maybe chocolate mousse, with him smiling at me the way he used to, all soft-eyed and warm. I pictured him opening it, maybe even crying tears of appreciation, but that fantasy was dead now. I wiped my eyes with my sleeve and forced myself to breathe. I had to think clearly. I had to stop replaying his words, too old, over and over in my head. They were carving deep wounds into my self-worth, but the truth is, I'm not old. I'm seasoned, I'm wise. I've lived through storms that would have destroyed younger women. I've grown through heartbreaks and losses. Age has given me armor. It has given me depth. And he, my soon-to-be ex-husband, was just too shallow to understand that. I placed the box on the passenger seat, the black velvet almost glowing under the garage light. Inside me, everything trembled: rage, heartbreak, shame, but also something else. A spark, something sharper, stronger. It was resolve. With shaky hands, I pulled out my phone and called my daughter, Emma. She answered on the fourth ring, her voice groggy. "Mom? Is everything okay?" "No, not even remotely." "Honey," I whispered, my voice barely holding together, "can you come get me?" When I told her where I was, she didn't ask another question. "I'm on my way," she said, her tone instantly shifting from sleepy to protective. The drive from her apartment to the restaurant took 25 minutes. I counted each one like a heartbeat. When she arrived, she parked beside my car, jumped out, and opened my door before I could even unbuckle. Her face crumpled when she saw me, my smudged mascara, my blotchy cheeks. "Oh, Mom," she whispered, wrapping her arms around me. I broke then, completely. The sobs tore through me, unstoppable. I cried into her shoulder the way she used to cry into mine when she scraped her knee. "He dumped me," I choked out between gasps. "In front of everyone. Said I was too old." Emma pulled back, her eyes blazing. "He what?" I nodded, swallowing hard. "He ended the marriage. Tonight." She clenched her jaw, furious. "Where is he now?" "Still on the rooftop?" "I swear to God." "He's not worth your energy," I whispered, my voice breaking. He's not worth anything." She helped me into her car and took the velvet box from my hands, setting it gently in her lap without asking what it was. She just drove. I watched the city blur past the window, the bright lights smearing into streaks. When we got to her apartment, she guided me inside like I was fragile. I sank onto her couch and stared at the floor. "Mom," she said softly from the kitchen, "do you want tea? Or wine?" "Definitely wine." "Tea," I whispered. "Something warm." She made it quickly and sat beside me, handing me the mug. I just held it, letting the heat soothe my trembling fingers. After a long moment, she asked, "Do you want to talk about it?" I shook my head, then nodded, then shook it again. Finally, I whispered, "He humiliated me 30 years. Tossed away like I was nothing." Emma's eyes flooded with tears. "Mom, you're everything. Everything good, everything strong. Dad is the one who's blind." Blind wasn't the right word. Coward was. Weak was, selfish was. I took a deep breath. There's something he doesn't know, something important. Something I was saving for tonight. Emma glanced at the velvet box on the coffee table. "Is it in there?" Yes, she waited. Patient, gentle. I loved her for that. I reached forward with slow, deliberate movements and picked up the box. The velvet felt like ice against my fingertips. "Mom," she whispered, touching my arm. "You don't have to show me if it hurts." "No," I said quietly. "I want you to see it." I opened the box. Inside was a letter folded neatly, sealed with a silver sticker, and beneath it a small key. Emma frowned. "What's this?" "A key to a safety deposit box," I said, my voice barely audible. "Your father and I. We always talked about opening a business together one day. Something small, something meaningful. But he kept delaying it. He said it wasn't the right time, so... "So you did it yourself?" she asked, her eyes widening. I nodded. For years, I've been saving money secretly. Little by little, birthday checks, extra teaching hours, selling crafts. I even refinanced my grandmother's property after she passed. And I put it all away. Her mouth fell open. "Mom, how much?" "Enough to start something real," I whispered. "A bakery, my dream." She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. You never told anyone." I wanted it to be a surprise, I said, my voice cracking again. I wanted to give him something meaningful, something from my heart. Something that said, here's our next chapter. Tears fell from Emma's eyes. Oh, Mom, I was going to give him the key tonight, I continued, wiping my face with the back of my hand. Tell him the bakery was already approved. That all we had to do was sign the final papers, that the building was ours. I wanted us to build something together before we grew old. My voice trembled, but he said I was already old. Emma squeezed my hands. He doesn't deserve to be part of your dream. He doesn't deserve even a crumb from your bakery floor. I laughed weakly through my tears. You're probably right. She took the box from me gently. Mom, you know what this means, right? I blinked at her. What? This isn't a gift for him anymore. It's a gift for you. I stared at her, stunned. The idea wrapped around my heart slowly, tenderly. A gift. For me. I had spent so many years giving time, giving love, giving patience, giving chances. Giving until I was empty. But what if this moment, this heartbreaking, humiliating moment, wasn't the end of something? What if it was the beginning? What am I supposed to do now? I whispered. Emma smiled through her tears. Whatever you want. Start the bakery. Travel. Redecorate the house. Dye your hair purple. Date or don't date. Leave Mom, live for you. The words poured over me like warm water, soothing the parts of me I hadn't realized were frozen. For the first time since my husband's announcement, I felt something other than pain. I felt possibility. Later that night, long after Emma had gone to bed, I sat alone on our balcony, staring at the city lights. The velvet box sat next to me, open. The key glinted under the moonlight. I held it in my hand and closed my eyes. He had thrown me away, but life had given me something back. A chance, a way forward, a new beginning. And yet deep inside, I knew this wasn't over. He thought he had walked away clean. He believed he had humiliated me in front of the world. He believed he had the upper hand. But he didn't know about the bakery. He didn't know about the savings. He didn't know about the surprise. And he definitely didn't know what was about to happen next. Because I realized something as I sat on that balcony, he wasn't the only one who could make an announcement. And when the time came, mine would be far louder. I couldn't go home right away. I just couldn't. Walking into that house, the one I'd made into a home for him, for us. It felt like stepping into a graveyard of memories I wasn't ready to face. So I sat in my car in the dim light of the parking garage. The overhead lights buzzed, almost like they were uncomfortable with the silence. I clutched the velvet box in my hands. It's funny, isn't it? How something so small can hold so much weight. I had this whole scene planned out for giving him this gift. We'd be over dessert, maybe some chocolate mousse, and he'd be smiling at me the way he used to, all soft-eyed and warm. I imagined him opening the box, his fingers trembling, maybe even crying, but tears of joy, of appreciation. Not whatever this was. That fantasy was dead now. I wiped my eyes with my sleeve and forced myself to breathe. I had to think clearly. I had to stop his words from echoing in my head. Too old. Too old, ... double quotes again and again, carving wounds into my self-worth. Because the truth is, I'm not old. I'm seasoned. I'm wise. I've lived through storms that would have shattered younger women. I've grown through heartbreak, through labor, through loss. Age has given me armor. It's given me depth. And he, my soon-to-be ex-husband, was just too shallow to ever understand that. I placed the box on the passenger seat next to me. The black velvet seemed to almost glow under the garage light. Everything inside me was trembling rage, heartbreak, disbelief, but there was something else too, a tiny spark. Something sharper, stronger. It was resolve. With shaky hands, I pulled out my phone and called the first person I could think of, my daughter Emma. She picked up on the fourth ring, her voice groggy with sleep. Mom, is everything okay? No, not even close. Honey, I whispered, my voice barely holding together. Can you come get me? She asked where I was. When I told her, she didn't ask another question. I'm on my way, she said, her tone instantly switching from sleepy to fiercely protective. The drive from her apartment to the restaurant took 25 minutes. I counted every single one of them like a heartbeat. When she arrived, she parked right beside my car, jumped out, and opened my door before I could even unbuckle my seatbelt. The moment she saw me, my smudged mascara, my blotchy cheeks, my trembling hands, her face just crumpled. Oh, Mom, she whispered, wrapping her arms around me. And that's when I broke, completely, loudly. The sobs just tore through me, unstoppable. I cried into her shoulder the same way she used to cry into mine when she'd de-scrape her knee or have her first heartbreak. He dumped me, I choked out between gasps. In front of everyone. Sad I was too old. Emma pulled back, her eyes blazing with fire. He what? I just nodded, swallowing hard. He ended the marriage tonight. She clenched her jaw, furious. Where is he? Where is he? Is he still on the rooftop? I swear to God. He's not worth your energy, I whispered, my voice cracking. He's not worth anything. She helped me into her car, took the velvet box from my hands, and set it gently on her lap without even asking what it was. She didn't push. She didn't demand explanations. She just drove. I watched the city blur past the window, the bright lights smearing into streaks, like everything was melting. The world felt surreal, like I was floating outside of my own life. When we got to her apartment, she guided me inside like I was fragile, breakable, and maybe I was. I sank onto her couch and just stared at the floor. Mom, she said softly from the kitchen, do you want tea? Or water or wine, definitely wine. Tea, I whispered. Something warm. She made it quickly and sat beside me, handing me the mug. I didn't drink it. I just held it with both hands, letting the heat try to soothe my trembling fingers. After a long, quiet moment, she asked, do you want to talk about it? I shook my head, then I nodded, then shook it again. Finally, I whispered, he humiliated me. My voice cracked. 30 years. Just tossed away like I was nothing. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Mom, you're everything. Everything good and strong and loving. Dad is the one who's blind. Blind wasn't the right word. Coward was. Weak was. Selfish was. I took a deep breath. There's something he doesn't know. Something important. Something I was saving for tonight. Emma glanced at the velvet box, now sitting on the coffee table. Is it in there? I didn't go home for 3 days. My daughter Emma insisted I stay with her until I felt strong enough to face the memories, the silence, the empty side of the bed. And though a part of me wanted to march into that house and tear down everything that reminded me of him, another part, the wounded part, needed to rest. To breathe. To collect itself before stepping back into a space that no longer felt like mine. On the 4th morning I drove home, the driveway looked the same. The porch looked the same. The potted flowers I watered every morning still bloomed, their colors bright and cheerful in a way that felt almost offensive against the storm inside my chest. I unlocked the front door slowly, half expecting. I don't know what, something dramatic. A ghost of our marriage floating in the hallway, his voice echoing off the walls. Instead, the house was just quiet. Too quiet. A heavy, suffocating quiet that wrapped itself around me the moment I stepped inside. Every corner felt haunted not by spirits, but by memories. I could see us laughing in the kitchen, making pancakes on Sunday mornings. I could see him falling asleep on the couch during late-night movies. I could see us painting the living room together, arguing about colors but ending the fight with playful splashes of paint across each other's faces. 30 years. 30 years lived between these walls. I set my purse down on the table, walked to the bedroom, and stopped in the doorway. His closet was empty. He had taken everything: clothes, shoes, his cologne, his watch collection. Even the stupid shoebox full of baseball cards he never let me touch, but he hadn't left a note, not a word, not an apology. Not even a goodbye. Just absence. And in that moment, oddly, I felt something shift inside me, something snap free. I stood a little straighter. I breathed a little deeper. If he could leave that easily, then maybe he was never truly mine to begin with. I sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out the small velvet box from my purse. I opened it and stared at the key again, running my thumb over its cool metal surface. The bakery, my dream and now my future. That afternoon, Emma drove me to the little building I had chosen months ago. It was a brick corner unit with big front windows, a faded awning just begging to be replaced, and so much potential it made my heart swell every time I looked at it. The for lease sign was gone now, taken down after I paid the deposit. All the papers were signed. The inspections were completed. Everything was ready, everything except me. But I was learning that you don't have to feel ready to begin. You just have to begin. Inside, the space was empty except for a counterframe and a few leftover shelves from the last tenant. The air smelled a little like dust and paint, but to me it smelled like hope. This is it, I whispered, running my fingers along the wall as if I were greeting an old friend. Emma wrapped her arm around my shoulders. It's perfect, Mom. It's mine, I said softly, letting that truth settle deep in my chest. Finally mine. We spent hours walking through ideas, tile colors, menu boards, display cases, ovens, seating. And for the first time in days, I laughed. Really laughed. The sound felt strange at first, like a piece of me I had forgotten how to use. But with each laugh, I felt lighter, happier, freer. That evening, as we were leaving the bakery, I saw someone standing near my car, my husband. Except he didn't look like my husband. He looked lost, nervous, smaller somehow. He walked toward me, lifting his hands in a placating gesture. We need to talk. No, I said, unlocking my car door. We don't. Please, he said, stepping in front of me. Just hear me out. 5 minutes. Emma glared at him, ready to pounce. You have some nerve showing up here. After what you did to my mother, Emma, it's okay, I said quietly. It wasn't okay. But I didn't want to make a scene in the parking lot. She crossed her arms and stayed close. My husband, I suppose I should stop calling him that, ran a hand over his face. I made a mistake. I laughed once. A dry, humorless sound. You humiliated me publicly on our anniversary. You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice. He winced. I wasn't thinking clearly. You seemed very clear, I said. Too old, wasn't it? He flinched again. Good. I didn't mean it, he said desperately. You know I say stupid things when I panic. I was your wife, I whispered. If being with me made you panic, maybe the problem wasn't me. He stepped forward. Please. Let's talk. Privately. I want to fix this. Fix? You couldn't fix what he had shattered. Not with words, not with apologies, not with regret. Why are you here? I asked, keeping my voice steady. He swallowed hard. Because I realized the grass isn't greener. I thought I wanted excitement, youth, but she left. There it is, I whispered. There's the truth. He closed his eyes, ashamed. The woman you left me for, I continued. The one you were texting during dinner, she left you? He didn't deny it. I thought she made me feel young, he murmured, but she didn't want commitment. She didn't want me, she just wanted fun, and you threw away 30 years for fun, I said softly. Do you hear how pathetic that sounds? His eyes filled with tears. I had seen him cry only twice in my life, once when his father died and once when our son was born. Seeing it now, it didn't move me, not the way it used to. Please, he whispered. I want to come home. I stared at him for a long moment, a very long moment. He looked hopeful, desperate, maybe even sorry, but what he didn't look was worthy. That house isn't your home anymore, I said gently. Not because I'm kicking you out, but because you left. You walked out that door long before you walked out of our marriage. He opened his mouth to argue, but I continued. And even if I wanted to take you back, which I don't, you didn't just hurt me. You destroyed something sacred. You broke trust I can't rebuild. I want to spend my remaining years being afraid I'll wake up one day and decide I'm too old again. Tears slid down his face. I was wrong. I know, I said. But sometimes sorry doesn't fix the damage. He wiped his eyes. Please just let me explain. No, I whispered. You had an entire anniversary dinner to explain, an entire lifetime to appreciate me. You chose not to. And now I'm choosing me. His face crumpled. Are you saying it's over? It's already over, I said. You ended it on that rooftop. He looked at me like he was drowning. Like he had realized too late what he had thrown away. I walked around him and opened my car door. He reached out, voice cracking. Please don't do this. I love you. I paused. Then I looked him straight in the eyes. No, I said quietly. You don't. You love the version of me that existed to take care of you, to forgive you, to support you. You don't love the woman standing here now because she finally learned how to love herself. He let out a broken sound and stepped back. I got into my car, closed the door, and exhaled a long, shaky breath. My friend Emma got in on the other side, her eyes burning holes through him as I drove away. I didn't look in the rearview mirror. I didn't need to. I wasn't going back. The next morning, Emma helped me file for divorce. She held my hand as I signed the papers, her smile gentle and proud. That afternoon, I returned to my bakery, with a notebook full of ideas. I rolled up my sleeves, tied my hair back, and began the work of building something new. Day by day, the space transformed. fresh paint, new tiles. A sign that reads Silver Mint Bakery in elegant script. Emma's idea. Because, she said, the moon is most beautiful at full brightness, not at the beginning. On opening day, the bakery was packed. Neighbors came, friends came, former students came. Emma stood behind the counter with me, beaming. At one point, I looked out the window and saw him across the street, watching, regret carved into his face like stone. But he didn't come inside. And I didn't invite him. Instead, I lifted my chin, smiled at a customer waiting by the register, and said, "What can I get for you?" My life didn't end the night he dumped me. It began, and I realized something profound. Being called too old was the greatest gift he ever gave me because it pushed me into a life where I am finally enough for myself, for my dreams, for my future. And as I watched customers laugh, chat, and savor the pastries I had poured my heart into, I finally understood. The best love story of my life was the one I wrote for myself. If you've ever felt like your story was over, just remember that sometimes it's only the beginning of a new, better chapter.